Hey, today we are looking at 10 steps to better conversations in English. Now, it does not matter if you want to improve your social or your professional conversation skills. These 10 steps will help you to speak more naturally and more confidently in English. So, let's get started. First of all, do not skip small talk or rush through small talk in English conversations. Small talk is an important and very natural part of conversations in English for a few different reasons. It is part of the culture of speaking English, and small talk is expected in English-speaking places and among English speakers in general. That means that if you skip the small talk, the conversation starts off in kind of an unnatural and a little bit confusing way, all right? So it's an expected part of the culture of the language. Small talk also creates a first impression of you, and it sets the tone for the rest of the conversation. Small talk is a way for people to become comfortable. It's kind of like a warm up in your conversation, okay? So like when you exercise, you do stretches, you do a warm up. That's what small talk is in your English conversations, all right? So do not skip the small talk. I do have a full lesson on how to make great small talk in English. I will link that lesson down below in the description. You can check it out after this one. Second, you need to find a natural rhythm. Learn to pay attention to the speed or the pace of the questions and answers in your conversations. Sometimes we're so focused on the information or the vocabulary or the words or the way we sound or the way we look, and we're not really paying attention to how fast or slow the conversation is going. Sometimes we ignore the rhythm of the conversation altogether, okay? So you don't want to rush through your questions and answers, and you also don't want to be super slow. You want to find a sweet spot or balance or something kind of in the middle, okay? So imagine that you and I meet for the first time at a social event. You like me, you want to talk to me, you want to get to know me, and you're asking me questions about myself. And you say, "What's your name?" I say, "Julie." And you say, "Where are you from?" I say, "Canada." You say, "What do you do?" I say, "I'm an English teacher." And you say, like, you're just throwing questions at me. It almost feels like an interview or an interrogation, and the rhythm is not very natural. Sometimes this does happen with English learners, and again, a lot of times it's because they're nervous or they're thinking about the question or they're thinking about the vocabulary or the grammar and the next thing to say. But it is really, really important to find a natural rhythm. So don't rush. Listen to what the other person is saying, pay attention, notice when you need to give more details, because sometimes you need to give more details, sometimes you need to explain more, and sometimes you can move on, all right? So just be aware of the speed and the rhythm of your conversations. Third, ask lots of questions. Questions are your friend in English conversations. I did just say do not rush through your questions or speed through your questions, but in general, asking questions is a great way to, first of all, get to know someone, understand someone better, and to show that you're interested, that you care, and that you are paying attention, all right? So asking questions is very important in both social and professional conversations, all right? So in social conversations, you can ask people questions about how they feel, why they made a certain decision, and so on. In professional conversations, you can ask more questions about why someone agrees with a certain point, why someone disagrees. You can ask questions about someone's ideas. There's lots and lots of things you can ask, all right? So don't be afraid of asking questions. Questions are also a great way to clarify information and make sure that you understand what is happening in the conversation. Number 4, you need to make sure that your conversation is two-sided, okay? Conversations are a two-way street. They do not go one way. Conversation should not be a lecture, all right? So learn to pay attention to how much time you are speaking and how much time the other person is speaking. A conversation does not always have to be 100% 50-50, but sometimes when we're excited about a topic, we can ramble, which means to talk a lot. And sometimes we don't notice if the listener cares about what we're saying, if they understand what we're saying, and vice versa, okay? So sometimes I'm sure you've had conversations where the other person is talking and talking and talking about something you don't care about, and you're just like nodding and waiting for the conversation to be over, okay? Those are one-sided conversations and nobody likes them, all right? Remember that successful conversations are all about communication, and communication is a two-way street. Make sure that you are having two-way conversations. Also, pay attention to body language. Notice if the other person looks bored or looks confused. And if you feel like the conversation is not enjoyable for them, or too fast or too slow or confusing or difficult or boring, change the topic or wrap up the conversation. Okay, so once you've got a nice two-way conversation going, the pace is good, you've made some good small talk, you need to make sure that you are expressing or showing interest and empathy, okay? Interest and empathy. Now, you can express interest by showing the person or letting the other person know that you are interested in what they are saying. And empathy means that you understand how the other person feels, all right? And this is actually pretty easy to do. All you have to do is learn a few phrases that you can use all the time, a few go-to phrases that you can use to express empathy or interest. So for example, you could say, that must have been, plus an adjective. That must have been, okay? So that must have been difficult. That must have been amazing. That must have been stressful, okay? So this shows that you understand how the person probably felt in that situation. You were listening and you are interested, all right? So make sure you check out last week's lesson with 25 common useful phrases for English conversations. You will learn some great ways to express interest and empathy. Number 6 is to confirm understanding. It's a very good idea to get in the habit of making sure that your listener understands you and letting your listener know that you have understood them, okay? So again, pay attention to your listener, and if they look confused, if you can tell that they are confused, try to paraphrase, try to rephrase or explain what you're saying in a different way, okay? This is a really important skill to have as an English learner and as a communicator in general. If you see someone is confused, if you see that they're not following, they're not on the same page, they don't understand you, do not keep repeating yourself. Do not just speak loudly. Do not just speak slowly. You need to paraphrase and explain in a different way, okay? And similarly, if you don't understand something, don't pretend that you understand, because it will probably lead to more confusion later on in the conversation. So if you don't understand something, don't nod and pretend that you do. It's okay to ask for clarification or confirm that you have understood correctly. Which brings us to number 7, learn to paraphrase. Now, as I mentioned, paraphrasing is a skill that is super important for English learners and in general for good, strong, clear communication, all right? Now, paraphrasing just means that you explain an idea or a word using different words, okay? So, for example, imagine that you're talking to someone about an ebook. So I've mentioned that I have an ebook available to help you with your conversations, but you have never heard of an ebook, or you've never heard the word ebook and you have no idea what it means. And you say, Julie, sorry, what is an ebook? I've never heard that. Can you explain it to me? And I say an ebook is an electronic book, okay? But I see that you're confused. You still don't understand it. I cannot just keep saying an ebook is an electronic book because you didn't get the point. You didn't get my message. So in this case, I would need to paraphrase, okay? So I can say an ebook is basically a digital book. It's like a PDF version of a physical book that you can download and you can read it on your computer, or you can print it out. So I'm explaining the concept or the meaning of an ebook using different words to make sure that you understand, okay? Now, again, a very important, a crucial skill for you to have as an English learner, and this will help you with your conversations and with your communication in English in general. Number 8 is to listen. One of the most important conversation skills is not actually speaking, it is listening. I would say that listening is equally as important as speaking in conversations. So when you're talking to people, whether it's friends or colleagues or family, you need to listen actively. Now, active listening means you're listening and you're paying attention, okay? You're not just hearing them and nodding, but thinking about something else. Active listening means you are listening, you are engaged, you are paying attention to what they're saying, and you're trying to understand and remember what they tell you. Listening goes a very long way in your conversations, all right? So remembering what people say and asking them about it or following up on it is so powerful. It will help you to build connections and to build relationships. It will show people that you care, and it will also build trust, which will result in better conversations and better communication. Number 9, make sure you are learning the right phrases for conversations, okay? So don't memorize random phrases that you're never ever going to use in conversations. Try to build a nice phrase bank for different common situations. So learn phrases that you can use to agree, to disagree, to clarify information, to give more information, phrases you can use or questions you can use to make small talk, to continue a conversation, to interrupt, to change the subject, to end a conversation. All of these are important. And again, if you have this nice bank or knowledge of phrases for many different situations, you can just plug them into your conversations. It doesn't matter what the topic is, it doesn't matter who you're talking to, but this solid bank of phrases will really, really help you to speak naturally and to not get stuck, right? Sometimes you don't know what to say and you kind of freeze and you don't know how to interrupt or how to disagree or how to say that you don't understand, all right? So learn the right phrases. And number 10 is to cheat a little bit with your grammar. Now, this tip is for those of you who get a little bit nervous and stressed about your grammar when you're speaking. Maybe you are not sure if you're using the right grammatical structure. You don't know if you're using the right tense. What you can do is listen to the structure or the tense of the question and basically start off by copying the same grammatical structure or the same grammar tense in your answer, okay? This is especially useful in English speaking tests like the IELTS speaking test, or in a job interview or an important discussion when your grammar actually is important, okay? Sometimes grammar mistakes matter less, and of course, sometimes grammar mistakes matter more, all right? So if you're someone who really wants to get the grammar right, but you sort of stress, just copy the grammar in the question. Now, this only works when you're speaking to someone who is an English speaker or who has a good level or a high level of English. Of course, if you're talking to someone who has a lower level of English or worse English than you, then you cannot use this trick, okay? So keep it in mind. You need to be aware of who you are speaking to. So if you're talking to me, you can copy my tense, all right? For example, if I ask you, what have you been up to lately? What have you been up to lately? Okay, this is a present perfect question. You can use the same tense to answer me. You can say, I haven't been up to much lately. I have not been up to much lately. So you're listening to my grammar and pretty much copying it, okay? Another example, if I say, what did you do last weekend? What did you do last weekend? You can say, I didn't do anything last weekend, right? So just take what you can from the question, turn it around and use it in your answer. So there you have it, 10 steps to better conversations in English. Remember that successful conversations are more than good vocabulary and good grammar. Conversations are all about communication, all right? So these tips will help you to have more natural, more professional, more confident conversations. Don't forget to grab your free ebook, English Conversations Made Simple. If you have any questions on this topic, please do let me know. Leave your questions down in the comments below. As always, thanks so much for watching and for learning with me, and I will see you soon in the next lesson.